I'm Ron Piercy. I'm the owner of Rainbow Flying Service in Moses Lake, Washington, and I manufacture new replacement wood spars for Aroncas, Cetabrias, Scouts, and Decathlons. This orange machine is a log splitter that I built a few years ago, and it's going to provide the hydraulics that we're going to use to test these spars. We have a whiffle tree set up here that we can use to do a pull test on the spars. The spar we have loaded in is a original Aronca 7AC spar, and it's not without some problems. The rats have chewed on it here a little bit. This spar has some cracks in it. These are drying cracks. It's caused by the spar drying out in surface and wanting to shrink, and the plywood plating prevents the spar from shrinking, and so that it cracks, usually about in the middle, halfway between the top, emanating from the plywood plating. I've also suspended a chalk line here about 1/8 of an inch above the spar. I've got a little 1/8 inch block here, and I've got another 1/8 inch block right here with the string on top of it, but this spar has a little bit of crown in it, so it's actually touching here in the middle. But I've got a steel scale attached to the spar here that we can use to see how much this spar bends as we're applying pressure. 300 pounds of pressure on our gauge with a 3 square inch piston will give us 900 pounds of up force, which is going to be pretty near the breaking point of this spar, the way I have it calculated. So this is unrehearsed, this is the first time, and so it's time to turn on the machine and see if we can break this spar. I also will point out that the failure mode of this spar is going to be a compression failure right here at the end of this plywood plating. That's what we expect to see. Here we go.
And can you see it, Carl?
Yeah, I can see it. What do we got for pressure? The gauge is not working? What do you mean nothing? The gauge didn't move.
Yeah, it's not registering anything.
What broke? This here, over here. Huh? Here. Snap right here. I see something right here, please. How do I stop this thing? Nothing on the gauge. Okay, this is the spar that we just tested to destruction, and as predicted, we introduced a compression failure into this spar. Compression failures in these spars is the way they normally fail. I always tell people that it's just like an electrical system. In an electrical system you have a fuse, and if you overload the electrical system you blow the fuse or the circuit breaker. In these spars we know where the weak spot is, so that's where they fail. Okay, this is the second spar we're going to test. This is a Cetabrias spar. It's really no different from an Aronca Champ spar, except that it has a little bit different wingtip configuration, and it has a few more holes drilled in it down at the butt end for a gas tank. This spar has no known defects that I can see, so we'll test it. Again, I've suspended the string 1/8 of an inch above the top of the spar. I have an 1/8 inch block on both ends, but the string is touching in the middle of the spar. So we also had to change our pressure gauge. The gauge didn't work when we tested the last spar, so now we have a pressure gauge that we can use and see how much pressure we apply. So we'll turn on the machine and get started here. And start applying pressure. And watch that string go up. Here we go. Pressure's coming on. There's 100, about 200, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900 pounds. All the pressure I can put on it. Look where the spring is. I'm going to let the pressure go. Okay, we're going to test a rear spar now. As far as I know, this spar has no defects to it. This is a Citabria rear spar, and we'll see what it takes to destroy this spar. So here we got the machine on, the pressure's coming on, and we got 300. What was that? About between 300 and 400. This spar broke between 300 and 400 pounds on the pressure gauge, near as I can tell. Where's my phone?
On the ground in front of you.
Right here.
It's recording.
Where is it? Right here. Okay, we're going to test another Citabria rear spar here with no known defects. Okay, this is a Rainbow Flying Service rear spar for an Aronca, like a 7AC or an 11AC. As I said earlier, the spars for the 7AC and 11AC are the same as the Citabria spars, except for the wingtip configuration and holes drilled for fuel tanks. So this has never been done before. We're going to turn on the machine and see what it'll take. Watch the string. Here we go. We're going to break a Rainbow Flying Service rear spar. Pressure's coming up. And what do we got? 200, 300, 400, 500, 700. How high was it? About 700. So we're going to have a 3/8 close nipple and a T. So we found out earlier today that a 2-inch cylinder was not large enough to break a front spar, and so we changed out the cylinder. We now have a cylinder with a 3-inch piston in it, and we have mounted in our braking machine a Citabria original spar used with no known defects, and we're going to see how much pressure it takes to break it. So I'm going to turn on my phone right here, and we're going to turn on the machine, and we're going to break a spar. There it is. Let's see.
Yell it out.
That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost 6. Between 5 and 600 pounds.
We can make kites out of it.
Make what? This is the spar that we just broke. It has compression failure in 2 places. Right there on the end of my finger is a compression failure, and again right there on the end of my finger is compression failure. That's the way these spars break. So we're going to move on to another spar. Okay, we have now loaded a Rainbow Flying Service front spar into our braking machine. This is a spar that I made a mistake on during the manufacturing process by having my drill fixture 1/4 of an inch away from the butt end of the spar. So all the holes on this spar are off by 1/4 of an inch, which makes it a unusable, unsaleable spar. And if you look, you'll also see that this spar is marked as a reject. But I saved it so we could use it for testing, so we're going to test it. But before we test it, I'm going to introduce some defects into this spar. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bore a 1-inch knot hole out here by the end of the spar. There's my 1-inch knot hole. Now, just to make sure, we're going to stick the chainsaw through there. Now let's test this spar and see where it breaks. Okay, again I have suspended a chalk line 1/8 of an inch above the top of this spar, so we can observe how much this spar bends during the testing and braking process. So here goes right here. We got 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. Get 800.
Well, the knot hole been split.
The IHOP getting destroyed back in January 2013. The Citabria, showed him a picture of the Citabria. And
Okay, service letter 406, which is included in AD 2025-02, calls out cracks in the spar and shows locations to look for cracks. This is a typical one right here. This is a drying crack. Usually happens about halfway between the top and the bottom of the spar. I took my skill saw and made a nice crack here. You can see that I stuck a card through there. Same thing on this side. I got a nice crack over here. I also put a crack at a rib nail hole here. So there's a crack at a nail hole. Here's another crack at a nail hole right here. And now we'll go ahead and see where this spar breaks. So here we go. There's about 1, 3, 4, 400. Okay, and as before, this spar failed in compression. Can you film the compression right here? There's the compression failure right there. That's the weak spot. Yeah, we also split out to the end here. Okay, that's it for that one. Okay, we have another spar here. I put a nice crack in it, just like shown in service letter 406 with my handy skill saw. Right there, and right there, and over here I put in a crack at a nail hole. You can see that. Over here I got another crack at a nail hole right there. And so we'll put it to the test and see what it'll do. Okay, we got about 200, 250, 300, 350, almost 4.
The crate broke on this side.
Huh?
It broke over here.
Yeah, there's compression failure right there. It's kind of faint and hard to see, but there's compression failure right there. I can actually see about 2 lines of compression failure here. There's one line right there, and there's another line right there. Grab me a little piece of sandpaper. You can turn that off. So I've sanded this compression failure. It had a lot of paint on the top of the spar, and I sanded the paint off so you could actually see the compression failure. So it shows up pretty well now. So I think that's the end of our spar testing.